what I like to do is just organize an informal discussion about marketing topics in our world of senior living, because there really doesn't seem to be a sort of a regular gathering point on these topics. A lot of times it's, we just get together with our team members and we brainstorm what our marketing plan is, or, our ad agency. And so the goal of this is just to talk about marketing and outreach to senior living on a wide variety of topics. And how I come up with the topics that we talk about is really in the conversations that I have with you all, or the conversations that we had the month before. And so this month's talking point is going to be the value of building a community in our organizations. Okay. And I hope that you stick with me on this, and hopefully this is going to be beneficial, and it will have a relevant point that you can all take to your organizations and make them the best that they can be. So before I even bring up my slide deck, I want to do a poll here, and Zoom has changed some of their things on polling. So I'm going to launch a poll question, and I'd love for some of you to answer this. And let's see here. So there is, if you could answer these two questions that are on the screen. And the first is, how would you prefer to be addressed? And that hopefully you can see that question choice there. And then the second question is, what are some groups or clubs that you've belonged in over the years? And so I'm hoping, okay, good. I'm seeing people answer those questions. Okay, so do the best to answer those questions. And while you're answering those questions, I'm going to throw up my sort of soapbox speech for all of these marketing masterminds discussions, because every time we get new people coming to these discussions, and I just want to make sure you kind of understand the context of what we are talking about here. So we've been doing these on and off since the pandemic, and what you can hopefully see on the screen are some of the different topics that we've covered, everything from events to CRM to social media to dealing with the phrase, I'm not ready yet. And I'm happy to jump in and talk about anything that you all want at these monthly discussions. I want to just on the screen bring up a list of marketing tools that we all have access to and that we utilize to do outreach. And, that includes our website, email, social media, word of mouth, print brochures, and things of that nature. There's paid digital marketing. There's SEO, search engine optimization, which can sometimes be viewed as unpaid marketing, direct mail, print, radio ads, event marketing. These are some of the tools that we have at our disposal, and we're going to be talking about these later in our discussion, okay? But now, for those that have been to any of these discussions, I'm going to just get into my buckets here. This is primarily either a reminder or it's for anybody who's attending these discussions for the first time. So the first set of buckets that I have are the way that I view the senior living world. Okay. And I generally loosely view the senior living world in three different buckets: housing options, aging in place solutions, and then resources. And so now housing, that could be your home, okay? Or you decide to downsize, you're not moving to senior living, but you're moving to an apartment that's in a walkable neighborhood. That would be referred to as housing. Aging in place, that could be everything from home health care to transportation to remodeling a home to be more accessible. Or it could be something that keeps us aging in place could just be a delivery service, that so that you don't need to get in your car and drive to go get your prescriptions or your dinner. And then the last is resources, and the resources bucket basically catches everything else. And some common resources in our field are aging life care managers, senior move managers, daily money managers, but they could also be area agencies on aging, and a variety of different services and support that could help you better age in place or make a move to a housing option. And then the next slide really shows my philosophy on marketing and outreach. And so I subscribe to two sort of principles: birds of a feather and low-hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is, my next set of buckets here is that we want to basically have a good understanding when we are in this space of who our clients are, who our referral sources are, and who we refer to. And that is the birds of a feather. The more that we can understand who is in each of those three buckets, the better we can go out and find more people just like them. And that's what I mean by low-hanging fruit. The more that, if you know that you've got 2 or 3 clients that came from a specific church or faith-based organization, that makes it a little bit easier to go get more clients just like them. All right. Okay. So today's discussion topic of building community is really, it may seem a little bit more like semantics than a concept or a lecture. My point to this is that it's shifting our mindset from thinking that instead of building my marketing list and going out there and trying to acquire customers, it's how can I build a community or communities that are going to help me grow my customer list. Now, I'm going to pause because I'm done with my little soapbox speech there. And I want to look at these poll results and see what we have. And let's see. I think I can share these results. So let me just do that with y'all. And hopefully you're seeing the results here. And I am going to let me pull this up so I can talk about this a little bit. Okay, so my first question was for you in the audience, not, marketing Shady Acres Assisted Living or, XYZ home care company, but how would you prefer to be addressed, as either a member or a customer? And it looks like 84% of us would prefer to be addressed as a member of something as opposed to a customer of an organization. All right. And that's going to sort of play into this concept of let's of the benefit of building a community of members that might lead to be customers, or even building a community of members that are customers. In fact, there are many senior living communities that are out there now that are not necessarily referring to their residents as residents, they're referring to them as members. And it's a little bit of semantics, but we'll dive into this a little bit more. Now, my next question was, what are some groups or clubs that you have belonged to over the years? And we've got a bunch of different things here. And my purpose in listing these types of organizations, we've got sororities, we've got pickleball groups, we've got professional societies, we've got realtors, local networking groups, art leagues, member of the pool, a church group, just some tons of different hiking clubs, riding clubs, I love this Divorced Dads Club. Okay, and I'm going to refer back to that one here shortly. But my point in asking these questions to all of you is, yes, so many times when I'm sitting down and talking to many of you about our marketing strategy, it's all built around customer acquisition, and the language that we're using is not necessarily as friendly as the language we would use when we are joining our pickleball club. And what I want you to start imagining when you're thinking about the outreach of your organization, whether it be a senior living community or a aging life care practice or a financial practice, is that what if you viewed instead of gathering customers, what if you thought of this as more of building a community? And I'm going to share an example with you here and I promise I want this to be interactive. So I want to remind you all, at any point in time, if you have questions, comments, or something to share, feel free to use chat, feel free to use Q&A, or feel free to raise your hand and I'll open up your mic and you can share with us. I want this to be a discussion and a brainstorming exercise to see if we can make our organizations better by thinking about building communities as opposed to acquiring customers. Okay, that's sort of the topic of the day. But I want to share with you one of the first great examples that I saw firsthand. Caught me by surprise, but I was like, wow, I don't know if this was intentional, but man, this is brilliant. And there's a financial planning firm that every year they host a customer appreciation event. And they have hundreds of customers and they rent out a great venue and they have nice food and they have, but what they also do is they book a series of programs that are related to the questions that they hear from their clients over the years, and then they make sure to throw in some fun stuff too. And I had the good fortune probably 15 years ago of being invited to talk about, you guessed it, senior living options, because that was something that was coming up in their client conversations. And when I arrived at this amazing venue, I, saw lots of people enjoying themselves, eating food, and then they ring the bell, and the first session would start. And over the period of, let's say, 3 hours, they would have 3 sessions. Some people chose just to eat and drink. Other people chose to go to some of these classes that were on a variety of topics. And the one that I was speaking about is the one that I'm an expert on, and it's just giving people a broad overview of senior living of options out there, whether it be aging in place or making a move. And I was like, wow, this is a great event. I grabbed a bite, between one of my sessions, and I just kind of took off. Well, then I got invited back a couple of years later, and I now I knew what this event was all about. So I made sure to get there super early so that I could, sit back, relax, and enjoy a meal and what have you. And so got there, and they had this set up as round tables, and I saw an empty seat. And so I kind of sat down at the table, and everybody was talking at the table like I thought they were all good friends, and I was the one breaking into the conversation. But when they rang the bell to have the first session, of which I wasn't speaking at, 2 or 3 people just left, and they all said, well, nice meeting you. And I was like, to myself, I'm saying, wow, you didn't know those folks there. And it's like, no, we just met them. We've never been to one of these events. And then another round of people came to the tables, and they all started connecting and meeting each other. And what I was blown away at is that how this financial services firm had all these people that they brought together, their clients, who had never met each other ever before. They wouldn't have a reason to meet each other, but they had a lot in common. They were this amazing community. And just by, this customer appreciation event brought them together. And there's probably a lot more that this firm could do. And there's probably a lot that I don't know that's going on behind the scenes. But it was my first taste at, wow, the customers of our companies, if we give them the opportunity to connect with each other, there's probably more in common than we realize. And that just strengthens the value that we have as a marketing proposition. And so then a couple more years went by and I was invited to speak again. And I asked them, I said, could I bring, would it be okay if I invited my mom and my brother to come to this event? Because it's an amazing event. And they're like, yeah, sure, Steve. And the thing that I was blown away by is that here's my brother and my mom, and they went off and they went to the classes. I think they may have gone to mine. But when I popped into the big room with the round tables, they were there interacting with the customers of this financial services firm. And all I heard on the way back from this event was just how nice everybody was. And it was just a great experience. And thanks for inviting us to this event. My mom and brother were never solicited by any of the financial planners. They were just talking to the customers of the financial planners, and that really sold them on this firm. Now, I wish I had a punchline here that, and now my mom and brother are happy customers of the financial services firm, but that's, not the point of this. Is that it's the opportunity to sort of bring our community together does a lot to help us in marketing our organizations in remote control. I feel like I'm babbling, but let me get to a couple more slides here, and I hope that all this starts to make sense, and I hope that you all jump in with examples that may or may not help illustrate the value of community. So there's a lot. Huh. Okay. That was weird. Okay. So hopefully you can see my slide there now. And sorry about that. That kind of took me by surprise. Okay. So I like these sort of 4 points here to building community: identify a need, make it a safe and authentic place, spread the word, and listen to what your members are saying. Here's how I want to sort of jump in to this discussion today is remember my buckets. And I shared this for you for a reason, is that we all should have 3 buckets: our clients, our referral sources, and who we refer to. And these 3 buckets can be I'd like us to start thinking about these buckets, instead of them being our customers and our clients, as being our community. Because let's face it, like, let's say that you've got an assisted living community, your customers are joining that community. So you've got your community that's inside the bucket. Those are the members of your financial services practice. But then you've also got another community that's outside of the bucket. But what we really want to do is, in the case of the little story that I just shared to you is we want to create spaces where we can connect our community of customers with our community of future potential customers in a meaningful way. And the same could be said with your referral sources or organizations that you refer to. So I want to share some different ideas on how we can build this community and make it part of our marketing plan. And another, well-documented list is of different ways that communities connect. Okay, so communities can connect around interest. All right, so an interest could be playing pickleball. An interest could be, saving as much as we can for retirement. You all in the list that you shared with me are talking about different interests, like, book clubs. Interests could be around art. But when we're thinking about interests in terms of ways that we can better market our organizations, I encourage y'all to think outside of the specific needs of your organization. So like naturally, a lot of us think about, okay, I'm running a senior living community. For people to move into this community, they're going to have to move and downsize. So I'm going to focus on that activity. But what if you thought about the community that can be around the fun things that will happen when they move to your community? And I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking about pickleball. So let's say you got a little pickleball court at your senior living community. Why not invite outside organizations that play pickleball to use your court and give them opportunities to interact with your residents that play pickleball? Could be a win-win for everybody. Action is that, communities of people trying to bring about change. I'll bring up a really good one that I brought up the other day, and that is the blue zones. Okay, so like in the blue zones, as you know, are locations, communities where more people live over the age of 100 than other parts of the world. Well, like, what if and I think most of us want to live as long as possible. So what if you created a community that was around, blue zones and, bringing people together that wanted to sort of follow those principles and bring them together with your organization, whether it's related directly or not. Place, people are brought together by place. And this is one of the things that I would say is that the more that we can understand where our current customers come from, what geographic region, the easier it is to bring together a community centered around place. And this can be especially good if you've got a physical location where people meet. So if you're, if you have an office or if you have a community that has a physical address, think about all the different types of communities you might leverage and build in that geographic place. And then the fourth on the list is practice. It's communities of people in the same profession that undertake the same activities. I would say that this is a great opportunity to look when we look at our referral sources, look at the organizations that refer to you and potentially think about building a community and connecting those individuals. So if you get referrals from 2 or 3 different social workers, think about bringing those social workers together and they may not know each other, but they're all referring to you as an organization. What a wonderful thing. And then circumstance is communities of people brought together by external events or situations. Now, I like one great example that we've discovered on our platform that I know many of you are addressing the needs of solo agers. This is a circumstance that I may have found myself in this self-identifying role of feeling like I'm alone and a solo ager. And what a great way to build community, because this solo aging has been such a hot interest. Oftentimes when I'm meeting with clients, whether they be, a senior living community or an elder law practice or a home care agency, I'm frequently asking the question, hey, how many of your customers would you think would identify themselves as solo agers? And I'm blown away because, especially in the retirement community segment, many times it's 60 to 70% of our customers or residents, members, whatever you want to call it, are probably identifying themselves as solo agers. And what a great opportunity to potentially create a community of the solo agers living in your senior living residence and inviting those people that identify as solo agers that live nearby and connecting those folks. Now, the next slide that I want to share with folks is collection. And this is very important because, so what are the common things of some of these different groups that you all have told me that you've belonged to over the years is that, there's probably some form of communication that's going on that lets you know that the next book club meeting or that there's going to be a swim meet at the pool. It's a communication vehicle. And the most important thing to be able to communicate with your community is to have either an email address, a phone number, a mailing address, so that you can let them know that we are going to gather together as a community, and or that you are pushing information to them that might be of interest to this community. And I don't want to get in the weeds here because we could literally, we've done discussions that lasted more than an hour on CRM systems, which is customer relationship manager. There are very sophisticated systems that are out there, and many of us use them, where it enables us to capture our customer name and be able to, click buttons that sort of group them into various categories. And what I'm going to say to you is that if you've got a robust CRM, you probably have more community than you realize in sort of looking in at the various common aspects that your prospects and your customers have. You may have some really interesting communities that you could bring together right now just based on the information that your customers and your prospects have shared with you. But the most important thing is to have an easy way that you can collect contact information so you can begin building and communicating with your community. And that sort of comes full circle to the concepts that we have to build community. That now we kind of go back to the traditional marketing tools that we have, and now it's sort of like, how am I going to grow this community? Because I know if I can grow this community, it's going to help me grow my customer base. And I think I'm gonna shift back to one of my first slides here, which was where is it? Is that my point of today's discussion is really more of a shift in mindset. Is that as opposed to, getting into all the MBA stuff on your marketing funnel and your customer acquisition, is that to really look at our group of customers and our group of prospective customers, and figure out what are the connections here, and what if a portion of my marketing, as opposed to being going out there and just trying to find prospects, what if a portion of my energy is focused on building a community that in the future might turn into paying customers, but what I'm doing in the interim is I'm building value in these people's lives. I'm enabling them to interact with people that already trust me and my organization, which ultimately is going to be a more authentic way to spread the word about the great work that our organizations are doing. Whew, man, that was a lot. I hope some of that resonated with y'all. Sometimes when I'm on this soapbox, just throwing out ideas, I feel like I'm talking to a wall. But this has been a common theme that has come up in a lot of my discussions with you all on your marketing, and I wanted to share it with you as a group. And the little poll that I did, where I said, how would you prefer to be addressed, as a member or a customer? That is not necessarily saying that, just, hey, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start referring to all my customers as members. No, because there's actually a real life scenario where people prefer not to be referred to as members, and I'll share this, and this is very broad based, but I hope it illustrates a point. Is many of you, if you're not familiar with the Village movement, there is this amazing grassroots movement out there called the Villages. They're generally sometimes referred to as age-in-place villages, and these are members of communities that come together, and they are truly communities where the concept is, hey, let's come together and support each other so that we don't need to leave this community that we love. We can stay put right here for as long as possible. Amazing movement. And there's hundreds of these nationwide, and they're all different, but there is a model that's out there of where there are two groups of people involved in these communities. There's members and there's volunteers, okay? And I've been to lots of village meetings, lots of different ones. And oftentimes I will go to a meeting, and I'll introduce myself to somebody and I'll say, oh, hey, what's your involvement? Oh, I'm a volunteer. And it's like, okay, and one of the things that the reasons I'm bringing this up is that the vibe sometimes in these organizations is members receive support from volunteers. So that word member can sometimes be implied that I am a taker and not a giver, okay? Like that I need help. And as we know, folks out there, in our world of senior living, the worst thing that we can position we can be in is saying that we're losing our independence. And so, even though member might be this appealing title in many organizations, if saying you're a member or a resident means that you are less independent than you used to be, then that can sometimes, change the perspective of that. And thank you, Lydia, for sharing the Village to Village network. They're all over the country, and they're wonderful organizations. And some of the villages that I've talked to over the years have discovered that, you know what, we don't need to label the people involved in our organization as volunteers and members. Everybody is a member of this village, and even the people that are receiving support can also give support. So let's just call everybody a member. And but I wanted to share that with you. So I am gonna be you guys hit me up with questions. As you know, or if you're here for the first time, I can babble on anything related to marketing and older adults for hours on end. But I'm going to wrap this up here shortly, because my concept was just to introduce a concept to you all and see how it resonates. But I want to let me use an example of where something like this might come into play. I gave you that one example of a financial services firm, but let's pretend that and Anne, I love this. Anne says, the Village Network is amazing. I have been very fortunate to get assistance and support from my father and stepmothers, who are founders of the San Francisco Village. And absolutely, it's an amazing movement. It's also an amazing movement for solo agers, okay? Because now, even though your father and stepmother you know have you as a loved one, you know, a lot of us are going to be separated from our loved ones who could provide support, and organizations like a village can be wonderful. And but in any event, let me use an example of a retirement community, okay, which is a community. And but it's oftentimes a community that we hear the phrase, I'm not ready yet. You know, that's great for other people, but I'm not ready to move into that community just yet. And a lot of times what we find in the senior living communities is that it's sort of like, well, once you move in here and you start paying rent, then you join our community. But what about all those people that aren't ready yet? Like, what could we do to support them and make it a part of our marketing matrix, and make it, you know, less of a sort of a marketing push? What are some of the types of communities that we could build that would sort of provide support to these individuals that haven't officially joined our community by moving in? Well, I as I'd said, I've talked to a few communities, and I said, how many solo agers are would you say are living in your community? And some say as many as 60 to 70%. And so, you know, what if a community, a senior living community, was a gathering spot for a solo aging club? You know, that is, and you as the marketing and outreach person you're, you know, involved in keeping that club alive. Maybe it's a monthly solo aging discussion group. Think about, you know, I saw Patricia Dubroff, I believe, she is here in the audience, and one of the communities that Patricia runs is she hosts a monthly death cafe. It's an opportunity for people to come together and talk about death and dying in a very objective and beautiful way. And what I would say is that, like, a death cafe, that is a community, okay? And that's also a community, again, like, I don't want this to appear like there's a financial objective at the end of building all these communities. because that is going to not be authentic. But what are the chances that if you're in this world of senior living and you invest in building a very authentic and objective community on solo aging or talking about death or pickleball, and you do it, you're not beating the drum and you're not making a sales pitch every time, because that's going to scare people away. But what are the chances that you might develop a real customer relationship out of that? I feel that they're pretty high, and I actually feel that they're probably higher than if you're just doing the more traditional marketing push there, because what you're doing is you're giving people the opportunity to get to know you, to trust you. And when they have a problem, or when they finally say, I'm ready yet, it's sort of like, well, of course, I'm going to investigate the community that's hosting my pickleball club once a month. Okay. Michael has a question here, and it says, with marketing that is not face-to-face, I find the lack of accountability and the true measurable data from agencies who charge a lot for these services to be very frustrating. It impacts my ability to adjust and increase my effectiveness. I don't know how one makes the in-person tools of pay-per-click, for example, more personal. I love this, Michael, because this was kind of one of my points today. There is nothing the matter with using these impersonal marketing tools, but what I'm going to suggest is maybe it's a little bit of A/B testing. Okay, let's say that you all have an online marketing budget and you're doing, whether it be email or what have you, and maybe in 2024 you say, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to do a campaign that is basically promoting directly to my target customer or a prospect list to be a customer. Okay, hey, come on by, test drive our home care agency and get $500 off, or come tour a retirement community and see how you like it. And then pick something that you think may be synergistic with the community of customers or referral sources or people you refer to that they have in common, and use that analytic online marketing instead to recruit customers, to recruit members of a community around something. Maybe it's a book club. Yeah, I mean, like, think about this, is that maybe there's a book that you think would be beneficial to the people that are currently your customers, and invite them to, give them a copy of the book for free and say, hey, we'll give you a free copy of this book if you agree to join our book club, and we're going to bring together a group of people to talk about the book. And so instead of marketing our companies, we're marketing the book club, and let's see how those results go. I mean, maybe you'll see, using those analytics, that, geez, if it just doesn't seem right. I'm spending all this money. I want to be promoting my business, but instead I'm promoting an adjacent community that my members may benefit from. I know I'm babbling there, but yeah, Michael, and I'm going to get an expert on that can kind of talk a little bit more about the analytic marketing and kind of what that's like out there. I think oftentimes we the beauty of analytics is it makes it feel like we are really spending our money on something that somebody is using, because we can see, oh, this ad had 1,000 views and 500 clicks, but if that's not resulting in customers, or if you feel like it's not providing a face-to-face interaction with you, then maybe the club route is a way to go. The Linda says, I'm a real estate agent in Seattle. If I were to contact an elder law attorney, what would you all say? What script would you use? Oh man, Lydia, I'm going to jump back to that. Okay. The Jennifer says, searching the web, I saw an elder law attorney in California who does a monthly wine, women, and wills group. What a great concept. Okay. I mean, hats off to that attorney. So it's, you know, maybe he or she discovered that a lot of their customers were women, and maybe they discovered when they went out and took a client out that they enjoyed drinking wine. And it seems like everybody's out there marketing. They like the synonyms or whatever, the wine, women, and wills group. And Willow Legal in Laytonsville does that too. The what I've found is there's a lot of, this is not an unknown concept out there, but the key is it's like sort of picking up with it and thinking about how you can bring community together. Now, let me go back to the realtor that is asking the question, real estate agent that's asking the question, if I were to contact an elder law attorney, what would I say? What script would you use? Here's the most important thing that I always say to folks, because I get this question all the time, is that when people identify what referral sources are in their bucket, now the next thing that you need to understand is, okay, what is it that you did that helped that professional? Okay, so what I would say is that, Linda, is there's two things here. If you've ever received a referral from an elder law attorney, they have the secret to your script. And so if you're currently getting referrals from an elder law or estate planner, take that person, ask that person if you can take them out to lunch or dinner for a glass of wine, and say, look, I hope that you've enjoyed the relationship that we have. My goal is to serve more people just like you. And would you be willing to sit down with me, and I will do anything, buy a steak dinner, glass of wine, what have you, to help me understand how I might approach your colleagues out there in the community in terms of telling them the value that I can deliver. Now, that's if you've received a referral from an elder law attorney. If you haven't received a referral from an elder law attorney, the script that I would use and the concept that I would use is that, hi, I'm, Linda, I'm a realtor that works with older adults, and I'm looking to develop relationships with elder law attorneys. I don't know if this is going to be an appropriate match, but I would love to take some of your time to better understand what it is you do and see how I could serve people in your profession. So what you want to do on those first calls is you want to do the opposite of a sales pitch. You want to ask this expert, how can I modify my practice to serve your profession? And I found that oftentimes that approach works for folks. Jonathan says, with only a small budget for marketing, how would you reach and market to children of older adults? Who would you want to purchase? Who you want to purchase your service for your parents? Jonathan, like, again, when I'm working with people who have a small budget, sort of this approach that I just shared with you in talking to an elder law attorney is the way that I get things started. So here's one way that we can sort of begin to kind of move into gathering information. Let's say that your service, that you don't have any customers. If you've got customers, communicate with your customers and find out what different things and what different interests and how are you helping them right now, and then get out there in the organizations that they belong to and see if you can create community and create content that is going to help those folks. But what I would say is that if you're starting a business and you have a circle of friends that have adult parents and they're concerned about them, this is this awesome focus group that you can use to sort of understand what some of their needs might be, to start creating community that could end up delivering value to turning into customers. Now, one area that is, and it's very important that this remain objective, but for example, what a lot of one community that's out there are support groups. Okay, so but a support group cannot be commercial. But if you can bring together people that all have something in common, and maybe it's I'm concerned about my mom and dad being safe, or a support group for adult children that are living at a distance, that could be done from their parents, that could be done online. Anything that you can do to sort of bring people together authentically, let them share. And the important thing is to say, hey, look, Shady Acres Assisted Living is bringing this together. We're giving you the space, we're buying you coffee, but our purpose of this is to enable you all to make connections, not to be a commercial for our services. So I know I'm babbling there. I hope there's some good ideas in my little rant. Let me look here. Patricia offered, if folks have questions about Death Cafe, feel free to reach out to them. Then Steve is talking about now this is, so Steve is shared that he's got a tax planning presentation, and this is one of these things where partnerships with other professionals could lead to content that could enable you to gather community together. But one of the things that I want you all to think about is that I know many of us do lectures and seminars, and I'm gonna sort of go back to this financial planning firm that I was speaking at, that even though the people came there for the food, for the content, for the beer and wine, what I saw when we were sitting around at these 10-person tables is that they all have, there's a lot of friendships that could be developed there. And that's kind of the extra element that I would say when you all are hosting events where you have a specific topic, is give people in the audience the choice to make friendships and make connections. Again, we have to be careful about this. We don't want to go out and sort of share our list of everybody who RSVP'd with each other, but make a part of your programming, hey, folks, let's take some time and go around the room, and if you'd like, introduce yourself to the audience, and if you want to share something about yourself, that would be great, because hey, in addition to having this great speaker on tax preparation, we want to facilitate you making connections. The cool thing about this is that if imagine that a friendship developed at one of your events, and that led to somebody making community, and there's value in that, and it goes beyond marketing. All right, I'm looking at the clock. It's almost 4 o'clock. You know, I always do these marketing things, and I'm sort of have this vision that I'm going to talk for 5 minutes, and that you all are going to jump in and share a bunch of ideas with each other. And lately, the last few months, it hasn't worked out that way. It seems like I do a lot of talking, but I hope some of the things that I shared with you today are helpful. That my main goal is to sort of let's get out of the framework of customer acquisition and experiment with building community outside ringing our own personal cash registers, and building community and looking at the community that you have of customers and how you could connect that community of customers with your prospects in growing this large community. Because if we can make a good connection where somebody sees that, you know, wow, Cindy, who I just met, is having a lot of fun living in Shady Acres, and I'm out here, you know, at home alone. Maybe I should consider making the move. Or, you know, I don't have a financial planner or tax preparer, and I met so many friendly people that were at that event. You know, maybe this is a good, you know, choice for me down the road. And yeah, Patricia, I agree. You know, what is your joy? Use that to bring folks together that know, like, and trust each other. And it takes time and sincerity. And that's one of the challenges in this digital marketing world that we were talking about earlier, is that we just want people to call up and yeah, I'm ready to move in, or I'm ready to hire your organization. But just imagine if we have this runway where they're part of a community for a period of time, 6 months, 6 years, and they trust you, so that when they say, I am ready, you're the first one that they're considering. And that's I just want to remind you all, listen, for 33 years, when I have handed this book to hundreds of people at expos and workshops and what have you, a high percentage of people say, oh, well, that's really nice, but I'm not ready for any of that stuff yet. And building community around something that's adjacent to what we are offering is a great way to prepare people that are saying that I'm not ready yet. So anyways, thanks, folks. I'll put this recording up, and email me if you've got any ideas or anything that you want to, you know, us to talk about in the marketing masterminds. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of research on the more analytic marketing, and maybe we can uncover some of that in future months. But I count on you all to share the ideas that you'd like us to discuss. So thanks so much. Have a great week. Hope that we got discussions every day at noon this week. So if you all go to proaging.com and jump in on some of those